Hello everyone. Today we're heading over to Quebec to discuss a very, very strange disappearance of a young woman there. And I'm warning you now, I do not speak French, and there are a lot of French names in this case, so there is an 85% chance that I will mispronounce them, so I'm just warning you now. I'm trying my best. But I know for sure I will still see comments down below about how I am mispronouncing every single name in this. But again, I'm going to be trying my best, and that is not the point of today's video. The point is that there is a young woman missing, and we need to find her. 24-year-old Marilyn Bergeron was born on December 21st of 1983 in Chicoutimi, Quebec, a borough of Saguenay, a city 200 kilometers north of Quebec City. Her mother's name was André and her father Michael. Around the age of 10, Marilyn began taking music lessons, and after this, she developed a lifelong love of music. While attending Roger Comtois High School, she attempted to start a band. In 1998, her family moved to the Quebec City borough of La Haute-Saint-Charles, where she continued her love of music by engaging in extracurricular programs that involved music at Neufchâtel High School. Marilyn was described as a cheerful, upbeat girl when she was growing up. However, she would eventually begin hanging out with friends that her parents considered bad influences that would eventually lead her to getting in trouble. After graduating high school, Marilyn went on to attend Cégep des Jonquières, where she studied media arts and technology. In 2005, Marilyn would then move to Montreal, to an apartment on Hochelaga Street, where she began working as a sales associate at Steve's Music Store, as well as made extra income on the side by freelancing sound editing work for a local TV station. Around this time, she also began training in finance at Industrial Alliance. Sometime at the end of 2007, a college friend of Marilyn's named Jonathan Gauthier arrived at her apartment in Montreal so that the two of them could attend a party together. And this is where the strange occurrences surrounding Marilyn would start to be noticed. Instead of him arriving to her apartment to a cheerful, happy Marilyn who was, all ready, putting on her makeup and her outfit for the party, instead he found her in her apartment, sitting in the dark listening to music as if something was very wrong. And this seemed to be very out of character for the normally upbeat young woman. During the party, Marilyn's mood seemed to improve a bit. However, out of nowhere, Marilyn became very nervous while talking to a friend, as if she had been triggered by something that was said. And after this, she suddenly asked to go home. So Jonathan did just that. He took Marilyn back home, but when they arrived back at her apartment, she began crying. Completely confused at this point, Jonathan was trying to figure out what was wrong. Clearly something was wrong. He began prying, throwing things out there, asking her if she had witnessed a murder or if she had been essayed or attacked of some sort. He was trying to figure out what had happened to her that would cause her to be so distraught and upset. However, Marilyn allegedly denied both of these scenarios, instead saying, quote, "You can't even begin to imagine what I've been through, Joe." End quote. Which would imply whatever happened to her was worse than being essayed or witnessing a murder. After this, Jonathan continued to try to get Marilyn to open up, however, she refused to. He got this impression that she was trying to protect him from some sort of danger and she didn't want to speak or else he would also be hurt. A few months later, in early 2008, Marilyn began expressing to her family that she no longer felt safe living alone in Montreal and was asking if she could come back home. Marilyn's mother, André, asked her what was upsetting her. However, again, Marilyn would not tell. Instead, she said she would tell her once she arrived. So on February 10th of 2008, Marilyn would begin moving out of her apartment and into her family home. Over the next 6 days, it said she would make trips back and forth to Montreal to collect her belongings before she was fully moved back out. During this week that Marilyn spent at home with her family as she was moving out and moving things back and forth, they noticed that there was something deeply upsetting her. During a phone call with her sister Nathalie, Marilyn allegedly said, quote, "Is there light at the end of this tunnel?" End quote. And also stated she did not want to go back to Montreal. When Nathalie also pressed what was wrong, Marilyn began to tear up but would refuse to say what was actually going on. So now that Marilyn was fully moved back home, you would think she would feel comfortable, she would finally feel safe, and she would open up about what was bothering her so badly and what was distressing her so badly that everyone around her was noticing something was up. Instead, when she was asked again, Marilyn wouldn't give any specific reasons. So just like with Jonathan, her mom started pressing her. What was wrong? Did it have something to do with debt, with drugs, with DV? But again, Marilyn denied each one of these scenarios. However, this time, when her mother asked her if she'd been assaulted, she didn't deny it, and instead she got upset and began to cry. So Andre offered that if Marilyn didn't feel comfortable talking to her family or friends, that she should get a therapist then and talk to a therapist, which I definitely think is a correct move in this scenario. If she doesn't feel comfortable opening up, if there clearly is something wrong, Her family offered her to help her get help that she could need. However, there seemingly wouldn't be enough time for this to happen, because on February 17th, just a day after she had fully moved back into her parents' home, she decided to go on a morning walk. Around 10:55 a.m., Marilyn would take her credit card with her. However, she would leave her ID at home, saying she'd be back by the afternoon. Her mother saying, quote, "I was worried because she was in a precarious psychological state. She was anxious, worried. She was a quiet girl, not the cheerful Marilyn, but I wasn't going to treat her like a little girl." End quote. I think that's something to remember, that Marilyn was 24 years old. She wasn't a teenager. Her mother couldn't technically stop her if she wanted to go somewhere, because I can see people saying in the situation, why didn't she stop her? Well, that would be like kidnapping or assault or something if she literally tied her daughter down, because once again, her daughter is a full-grown adult. Clearly something was wrong. Maybe in that moment she thought, getting some fresh air would help her. Not long after, at 11:09 a.m., Marilyn would end up being caught on CCTV footage at an ATM at the Caisse Populaire on Boulevard Delormier in Loretteville, where she was attempting to withdraw $60, but her credit card would decline. It's also noted in the video that she repeatedly looks behind her, out the window. It's theorized that she may have been looking out the window towards a car that may have been parked on the street outside that you could see from that angle. She's also noted to be carrying a black backpack over her one shoulder and appeared to look anxious and helpless. I'm going to play the video clip that was captured from the CCTV footage for you now. Now, it's unclear what Marilyn did for the rest of the day. However, hours later, at 4:03 p.m., Marilyn would buy a cup of coffee at a Cafe Depot. The barista would later recount that Marilyn seemed keen to leave and she seemed unhappy. She also noted she paid using a credit card and she was alone at the time. Now, how she ended up at this coffee shop is questioned, because it would have taken her about 4 to 5 hours to walk from where that ATM was near her home to this coffee shop. Now, given the time frame, she could have walked. There was about 4 or 5 hours in between where she was seen on the CCTV footage to where the barista reported seeing her at the coffee shop. However, it's also been questioned if she maybe hitchhiked, or if she was being driven around by someone, or if she simply walked all that way by herself, and why. Did she spend the entire day just walking? And if she didn't, where was she all day? However, Marilyn buying this cup of coffee would be the last time she would ever be seen again. As evening came and Marilyn still didn't arrive back home, her mother began to worry. She also noticed that Marilyn's purse, along with a new pack of cigarettes, had been left by the doorway, which also increased her worry at this point, because, Marilyn wouldn't have left these items behind if she was going somewhere for an extended period of time. And so Marilyn would eventually be reported missing. Now, police would initially come to the conclusion that Marilyn had unalived herself. I don't know if that's because of the state of mind she seemed to be in the last few months before her disappearance, or what other signs or evidence they may have had to come to this conclusion. However, the family didn't seem impressed with the police's investigation whatsoever, if there even truly was an investigation, considering they just seemed to right away think she unalived herself. They weren't looking for her, it seemed. And the family tried on several occasions to have her case transferred to the Montreal Police Department. However, their request was denied over and over again. Marilyn's family would spend the year searching for her, hiring private investigators, handing out hundreds of flyers across Canada, and trying to spread the word on Facebook. Now, some strange things would happen the following winter. On a cold, rainy night in December of 2009, a Hawkesbury resident and his wife were awoken at 2 a.m. by a woman knocking on their door. She was said to only be wearing a light jacket, a white t-shirt, jeans, and high heels, not clothing you would want to be wearing in weather like that. The couple would notice that this young woman didn't look like she was on drugs or that she was drunk, but she looked frail. So they let her inside their home and gave her a towel to dry off and warm up. The young woman began crying and asking if she could use their phone to call someone. However, when the young woman tried to make the phone call, no one answered. So instead, she asked if they knew how to get to Chamberlain Street. The couple ended up knowing where the street was and told her, and the man even offered to give her a ride there. However, the young woman said that it was close enough to walk, so she was just going to walk. And after apologizing for disturbing the couple, the young woman would leave and never be seen again. Now, at this time, the husband and wife never called 911. They didn't call the police because they didn't think anything was truly wrong. They thought this was just a lost young woman and she was going to find her way home. However, 3 months later, this couple would end up seeing a news report on Marilyn's disappearance and recognized Marilyn as the young woman who came to their house that cold, rainy night. Except the young woman who had come to their home had blonde hair, not brunette hair, like Marilyn normally did. However, Marilyn would often dye her hair blonde. In January of 2010, a documentary would end up being created to spread the word on Marilyn's case. And not long after it aired, a man would actually come forward after watching it claiming to have regularly seen Marilyn in Hawkesbury. Now, Hawkesbury is a town in Ontario, a French-speaking community across the Ottawa River from Quebec. And the thing was, Marilyn spoke fluent French, so this would have been a town that she would fit right into. Now, this man would claim to often see Marilyn with a young man. And when customers at a restaurant in the area were shown photos of Marilyn, they also confirmed that they'd seen her walking around town and often in the area with a young man. However, the young woman that looked like Marilyn with this young man have never been found and have never come forward. And obviously Marilyn has never been found either. But it is very, very strange that there are so many reported sightings of Marilyn in this small town in Ontario. Now, years would pass, and in February of 2022, a residence would end up being searched in the Levis area. In 2017, a reward for $30,000 would end up being put out for any information leading to Marilyn being found.
I've lost these last 10 years with her, but we were very close, and I miss her every day.
Her parents and older sister Natalie won't give up the search.
You know, they're still asking themselves, is my daughter still alive?
She went missing, that spirit was gone. She seemed very concerned, very afraid.
We decided to talk to the public and to tell them that they can talk to me. I am not the police, it's all confidential.
They received more than 80 calls, some suggesting Marilyn was in Ontario, but they couldn't prove it. The family will hold a walk in May in the area where she was last seen.
We know that she's somewhere, and we need to locate her. And the reality after 10 years, maybe she's deceased, and that would be a really hard reality, but if it is, I'd rather know than keep going like this.
Images of Marilyn Bergeron, missing for 14 years, are helping to keep her memory alive for her family, who are asking for the public's help. Her mother, André Béchard, is hopeful. According to her, they have indications that Bergeron, who they last saw at their home near Quebec City in February 2008, could be in Ontario because of what one resident of Hawkesbury, near the Quebec border, says happened in 2009.
On the month of December, Marilyn, that we believe it was, came to our house, and it was around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
He says at the time he didn't know who it was, but that the young woman who rang the doorbell was crying and asking for help.
When she came in, basically, she was cold, she was a little frail, wet because it was raining outside.
He says the blonde woman, who appeared to be in her early 20s and fluent in English, wanted directions to Chamberlain Street in Hawkesbury and refused his offer to drive her there. According to Salico, after about 15 minutes, she left.
She had a little jacket, blue jeans, a light white T-shirt with a V-neck, And she had the high heel shoes also.
Salico says the woman didn't appear impaired and was very polite. It wasn't until sometime later, according to him, that he recognized her picture online as someone missing and reported it to police.
The Quebec police came to my place.
The family is urging anyone else who might have seen anything to come forward.
If somebody in Ontario has something to say, doesn't want to speak to the police or want to speak to the family or to me, it will be confidential.
Belmar says the family is frustrated because of what they claim is lack of information from police.
What they're doing with the case, we don't know. They say that the inquiry is going on, but we don't know more than that, but we need more than that.
But to this day, it seems like police are no closer to cracking this case. Now, there have been many theories of what may have happened to Marilyn, one being that she possibly ran away or went into hiding after witnessing whatever was so terrifying in Montreal that made her leave. And the thing is, her family has said over and over again, if she is out there somewhere for whatever reason, whether that be she just wanted to go or if she was in hiding, if she was just somehow able to give her family a sign that she was okay out there, they would be fine with her being off doing what she wanted and needed to do. They'd be able to cope with all of this. Her mother saying, quote, "If she has a new life and wants to be left alone, we will respect that," end quote. That is, I guess, unless she needs people to think that she's dead or something. This case is definitely a mystery. I'm surprised not more people are talking about it. It is also very strange and scary. The biggest question obviously is, what happened to Marilyn in Montreal to cause her to be so terrified and scared and traumatized? What was so horrendous that she was showing possible signs of suffering PTSD or something along those lines? Obviously, I'm not a doctor. But from all accounts, she was showing signs of something was just terribly wrong. She had either witnessed something terribly wrong or something terribly wrong happened to her. What would be worse than witnessing a murder or being SA'd? Those two things are pretty terrible if you put them on a scale of terrible things to happen. So what could be worse than that? It's led to a lot of speculation over the years that Marilyn had possibly been trafficked to Montreal and she was trying to get away from those individuals. Or she had witnessed something that she wasn't supposed to have and was in fear for her life over that. And I mean, the fact that she wouldn't tell any of her friends or family what was wrong really makes me wonder if she did see something or she had been threatened by someone, that if she spoke, that all of her family and friends would also be in danger. What could be so absolutely horrible that she wouldn't even tell someone else about it? She wouldn't open up at all. What could be so terrible that she continuously over and over again seemed to want to tell someone what was wrong, but wouldn't? At the same time, if we want to look at all angles, I think it's important to look at the fact that she could have been suffering from some kind of mental health issue that was leading to her acting the way that she was and feeling the things she was feeling. Maybe she was having some kind of mental health crisis where she thought someone was following her and there truly wasn't anything wrong. But it really makes you wonder, what possibly could have happened to this young woman? Why was she so scared? But then we have the strange events of the day that she went missing. If she was so absolutely terrified that someone was coming after her, why would she leave her home that day alone? Where did she get the black backpack that she was carrying? Was it truly hers? Was it someone else's? And why was she going to the ATM to try to take out $60? While she was at the ATM, why was she constantly looking over her shoulder? I've also seen theories online that she was trying to get cash for possibly drugs. I mean, drugs could also lead to individuals acting erratic. But then after she couldn't get that $60 out of her bank account, where did she go for hours and hours and hours after that? And then why did she end up at that coffee shop? She was telling people that she was terrified of being in Montreal. So you'd think that she was now back home with her family, she would have felt safe. But she still seemed to be so uneasy. But then she left by herself that day from home. Again, why would she leave alone if she was so scared? What truly were her plans that day? Was she planning on coming home in the afternoon like she told her mom? Or did she have other plans all along and she just wanted to move all of her stuff out of Montreal so that her family didn't have to deal with that? I truly wonder if police have anything on Marilyn's disappearance or if they truly just gave up and never really searched. It makes me wonder, did she have plans? Is she out there somewhere just living her life in a small town in Ontario? Or did someone take her and do something to her? And again, was there truly something awful that happened to her or that she witnessed in Montreal? And what could that be? Because if Marilyn did witness something so awful or have something happen to her so awful that led her to be that terrified, that may still be going on till this day. And that may mean there are more victims out there. And that is absolutely terrifying. Let's take one more good look at Marilyn because she still may be out there. At the time of Marilyn's disappearance, she weighed around 115 pounds and was said to be 5'7" tall. She had brown hair that she sometimes dyed blonde, blue eyes, and a tattoo of the winged horse Pegasus on her chest. What do you guys all think about this case? Do you have any information that I don't know about that I didn't find? Let's talk about it down below. And as always, my heart goes out to this family. I truly, truly hope that they can eventually get answers. They are still fighting till this day for answers. And this is just one of those cases, again, that isn't getting enough coverage. What happened to Marilyn? Do you guys have any theories what may have been happening in Montreal? As always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.